Good morning, my fellow Michiganders. Good morning, my fellow Americans. Welcome to the Grassroots Army podcast. I am, of course, your host, former Michigan gubernatorial candidate. Sorry about the little feedback there. But I have some stuff for my homeschoolers today. So, welcome to the Grassroots Army podcast. I'm, of course, your host, former Michigan gubernatorial candidate Garrett Soldano. Now that we got that out of the way, we can get to business. All right, this is the call to action for not only my homeschoolers out there, but also anyone that loves this little thing called freedom. Now, this call to action is for everyone, folks. It truly is, and this is just hot garbage. So let's paint the narrative of what's truly going on. Obviously, government has failed our public school systems. We see it time and time again. They failed them during the pandemic with the lockdowns. They failed them with the mandates, the reading scores, the math scores. All their scores are plummeting in the public school systems. And guess what? Guess what people do? They leave the public school systems and they go to private schools and homeschool. And big government doesn't like that because they lose control. They lose money per student. So the public school systems are hurting right now, especially when all the COVID money runs out, on how they're going to fund these schools, especially with the dramatic drop in enrollment. Okay. So big government and Whitmer and their flunkies are now coming after homeschools. And they're not going to do it all at once. You have to remember, they do it by a death by 1,000 cuts. That's how they operate. They take a little ground, they take a little ground, they take a little ground. And that's one thing when I homeschooled my kids is we do not want government within our home. That was one of the reasons why we homeschool. And this is another form of control, which you all have to be aware. So in the description, there is a link for you to go to the directions of what you need to do. Obviously, it's like everything else. You need to call, email, or write your own Michigan State rep and senator and courteously tell them you oppose mandating registration. See, what they're starting to say, and Dana Nessel putting this out, is abuse. We need to get everyone to register kids because there's a huge number of abuse that happens, and we have to make sure there's no abuse. They always do this fear, right? That's what they lead with. But their narrative is false. The Barna Group anonymously surveyed 1,200 adults recently. This included adults who had been homeschooled and adults who had been educated in the public and private schools. When their responses were analyzed, the number of abuse events, prorated, was the same for all three groups. The full study can be accessed on the description with the link, or the link with the description that I posted, okay? So this is a narrative that they're promoting that is in fact indeed false. Weird, right? So if homeschoolers were hiding their abuse of their kids, or those kids having become adults and been allowed to respond anonymously, would have no motive to sugarcoat their abuse experience, right? That's common sense. So everyone they surveyed, especially the adults who homeschooled, they have no reason to hide, right? So if they were abused, especially as adults, they're going to be like, hey, yeah, I was abused. It was horrible. But the data shows differently, that all schools, public, private, and homeschoolers had the same incidence of abuses. So the narrative that running with is absolutely hot garbage. And so I believe very strongly in homeschooling, especially with the hot garbage that's going on with all of the indoctrination, the kids suffering and everything else. And they're making policy for a very small minority of the folks that are having a detrimental effect on the group as a whole. And they're not all inclusive because they're not including kids who don't want to share bathrooms and locker rooms and play sports against the biological opposite sex, right? So they're pushing a narrative because they're hurting and they're trying to stay ahead of the game because they're trying to keep everyone under control. So please, what you all need to do, we haven't done a call of action in a very long time. Please make sure that you're calling, emailing your state representative or senator and tell them that you're opposed mandating registration for the homeschoolers, okay? So all of you have to do this, okay? Because this is just another form of control that they're going to continue to come forward and try to make sure that we're falling in line again, all right? So it's unbelievable what it's not even unbelievable anymore. It's just expected. And here's the thing. If public schools were doing so good because the government's controlling them, then where's the problem, right? But they're not. Obviously, this is another example of government screwing things up, right? Would President Reagan say the 9 most terrifying words in English language is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, right? So that is another example, and they're hurting, and they're going to continue to hurt because the COVID money, like I predicted a couple of years ago, will run out, and then reality is going to strike, and then guess what? The schools are going to suffer, the teachers are going to suffer that teach at the public schools, the facilities, everything is just going to come falling apart because obviously they're not doing what they need to do, and this is all from the teachers union. All right, if they wouldn't have push this indoctrination, this Marxist movement onto these kids and try to take away parental rights, a lot of folks would probably still be in the public schools. But the truth's in the pudding. Public schools are in trouble. Their education approach is failing our kids, and parents have had enough, so they're pulling them. And that means dollars are being pulled from these public schools. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here in the future. And this is what I've said in the past. Hey, look, if you think this indoctrination, right, this alphabet mafia that's being shoved, force-fed down our kids' throats, and which is creating a lot of animosity with these kids, it's actually fueling the hate against that community, which is unfortunate because that community, the beginning of that community, the LGBT community, had big strides in their movement before it went crazy. And, the Gays Against Groomers constantly talks about, like, this is not our movement anymore. It got hijacked. And everything that they worked for has just been thrown in the toilet by these progressive leftists. The same thing with Title IX. All the leaps and bounds that women have done in sports has been basically destroyed in the last several years with this progressive left movement, with the Biden administration leading the charge. He did not go moderate. He went very radical, and now they're paying the price. They truly are. And that's why we have great messaging here in 2024. If the Republican Party can get off their asses, come together and unify under some great messaging and get the right leadership in these parties, then we have great messaging. Look, the grooming, the indoctrination, taking away parental rights, the invasion of the South, the economy, right? Interest rates, everything's on fire. We're in debt up to our eyeballs. Everything's on fire. We have great messaging right now. And I'm going to continue to repeat this because I believe very strongly in this, is the abortion issue. We can throw it right back in their face in the state of Michigan. We can take away all of their fear mongering and all this craziness that they got that proposition through, right? The abortion. We can take it all away with this. We support a 15-week ban and get rid of the 9 months. That's how we win. That's how we win. And if Republicans all would get on that, it's compassionate because it takes away the incest and rape, right, that the Democrats ran with on the folks. And I believe in conception. I've said this, I'm Catholic. But just because I believe system doesn't mean the majority of the folks believe in it. And that's just what it is. So if we want to win, and if we want to take back our state and our country, then we're going to have to adapt, improvise, and overcome. And the 15 weeks is compassionate. It's not perfect in my eyes. However, it's a whole hell of a lot better than 9 months killing babies. And it takes away their little freaking narrative of they're for rape, they're for incest. You all right? And with the exception in there for the life of the mom throughout the pregnancy. So it can go over 15 weeks. So if the mom is going to die or the baby's going to die, you have to choose the mom's life. That's just what it is. All the way up until 9 months. You can support that too. That's how we win. Holy cow. If we run with that, we clean house. But unfortunately right now, Michigan GOP is just, it's not doing good. It really isn't. So we need the right leadership in place to really start fueling this message. And those are the issues that we can really, really just freaking explode on and win. And I strongly encourage everyone that's running to run on that messaging because you will win. You will win. Even though you're for conception, you can say, look, let's label them as the radical left with the 9 months of murdering babies. Hey, we're not going to do 9 months. Let's push out that narrative and say we're for 15 weeks. Let's go. And then we win. That's it. And then we can start educating the public on other things, on the abortion issue and everything else. You take back small pieces of ground, just like they do to us. But the problem with conservatives, like I talked about on yesterday's live, they just want to be left alone. Leave me alone. I want to go to my job. I want my kids to go to school, not be indoctrinated. Just leave me alone. Those times are done. You have to be activated. You have to be engaged. You have to get behind the right candidates. That's just what it is now. You can no longer put your head in the sand because this is where we're at in our society. And it's going to get worse unless you do something about it. Not Garrett. Garrett is doing everything he can right now to educate you and inspire you. I'm not running. Somebody just asked me this morning, you running in 2024? No, absolutely not. Folks, maybe in the future, but I am going to do what I'm doing right now is grow this grassroots army because we're stronger as a grassroots army than just Garrett running for some type of position. Somebody hit me up yesterday, say run for Senate. No, I am not. There's 12 people running for Senate. 12 folks. 12 people. It's crowded, just like a gubernatorial race. And what they're doing right now, which I talked about on the live yesterday, I'm repeating it because a lot of people don't see my content because they're censored. All these gosh darn debates that they're trying to have with all these candidates before the primary is hot garbage. And this is where the leadership of the Michigan GOP is lacking. Take charge of the party. Say, hey, you get one debate. And the people who are relevant, polling, fundraising, can get on with the signatures, then they're all invited if they meet that certain criteria, but you have to set forth that criteria, and then you have one debate and you get it out. Having multiple debates in these races is just insane. I'm going through the gubernatorial candidate, our campaign. We had six in less than, I think, 2 months, six before the primary, 6 debates. And then there was even more with folks reaching out saying, we want to host a debate. We want to host a debate. And it's exhausting for the candidates. You're just saying the same gosh darn questions, and it does nothing to help our party. The Democrats don't do it, folks. Learn from the Democrats. Learn from them. They don't air their dirty laundry, right? They don't. Republicans, unfortunately, do. So, in my humble opinion, one debate, maybe 2, but one sanctioned by your party in that state. Everyone meets a certain criteria, maybe polling, money, getting your signatures, combination of 2 or 3 of those. I don't know what it is, but that's what has to happen. And you got to freaking put out all these debates and forums and everything else that there's. I mean, and that's what they try to do. Not only did we have like debates, but we had forums, which most of the candidates were there, and it was like a debate. Again, no. Sanctioned debates, if you want to have candidates out to talk, to give them their 2 to 5 minutes, that's how you do it. But all these forums and everything else, it's a waste of time and everything else. And someone who has lived through that, there's so many more things that you need to do as a candidate that constantly go to these small little functions of 100 to 200 people there and have the same gosh darn debate that you could have had on television with everybody involved in it. Will it be perfect? No, but it'll be a whole heck of a lot better than us tearing each other apart with the same gosh darn questions and just giving the other side ammunition to use against us in the general. That's what I feel. But that's why I'm sitting here and I'm not in office, I guess. I don't know. But that is what I feel as an American. And I think that's what is right. All right. So for my homeschoolers out there, I know most of you are already fighters. Make sure that you're fighting against this garbage. Call your senator or state rep. Let them have it. And also, folks, if you're not, man, this is an all-together movement here. We need to support these folks who are brave enough, who have the capabilities to homeschool their kids. You got to support them. So make sure that you're making these phone calls, all right, or emails or anything else. Find your state rep, find your senator, and just freaking hammer them and say, hey, we oppose this. We oppose this, and this is why. And you can include in the narrative the link of the study if you want. I don't care. But make sure that you're supporting this because this affects us all, because this is what they do. Take a little bit of your freedom, take a little bit of your freedom, take a little bit of your freedom, and everything else, okay? So I'll continue to do my part, give you this up-to-date, accurate, truthful information, but you folks have to stay activated, stay involved, and make sure that you're fighting back, all right? Have a great day. God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. Of course, and always, God bless these United States. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.